Welcome back, players and collectors, to my channel, Ren's Collectibles, and today we're doing something I don't normally do, which is kind of getting into a little bit of drama here. There's a video going around that I have been tagged in. I've had people send it to me and actually ask to get my input on this video that you guys are about to see right over here. And basically, it's this dad and son going to, I think it's Walmart, and watching as a card shop owner takes all of the ETBs for Distant Rivals and makes off with them, right? So I've had a lot of people actually come to me and ask me to give my take on it because, I'm a father and this is a scenario that I've actually encountered once before. I will say most people, at least where I'm at, most people have some kind of decency to them. And, if they see kids or if, let's say there's only 4 or 5 people in line, most of the time they're going to be like, okay, let's make sure everybody gets at least one of whatever they're wanting. And then we'll, divvy up the rest, however. And for the most part, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I would love to get, 2 ETBs, 2 build and battle, or what are those things? The booster bundles, things like that. But if I could show up and grab one box or one of everything or one of something just to get some Pokemon cards anymore, I'm generally okay with that. But in the case of this video, as we're about to watch, it didn't happen that way. But I'll let you guys watch and then we can discuss. All right, so obviously we saw what happened there. This is video, and I want to put this all up front. This is allegedly taking place. Nobody's actually confirmed the authenticity of this video. Granted, it's probably real because this behavior happens everywhere. It exists all over the place. And like I said, this has actually happened to me and my son once before. So I know that it is real, and regardless of whether the video is real or fake, this type of stuff happens and these kinds of people are out there. So my take on it is the card shop owner who is taking all of the product in front of this kid is an absolute scumbag. I'm just going to say it like that. We're not going to sugarcoat anything here. That's a garbage move from a garbage person. I understand, and I know there's a lot of people that are going to be coming on here being like, oh, my hustle, my money, blah, 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 blah. Look, I get it. You guys, if you were there first, you could have whatever, right? You have a kid there that's trying to get one box, and you can't give it to them. You can't let them have one. That's ridiculous. All right. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there's some weird things about this video we're going to talk about in just a second. But the fact that, you've got grown dudes who probably still live in their mother's basement coming in to spend all of their money on these cards, not letting literally anybody else in that's actually physically there to get some of the product there, not letting them have any and then making off like a bandit. Yeah, I mean, you kind of get whatever is coming to you, whatever kind of, I don't want to say hate, but whatever kind of negative comments people are making about you online. And, honestly, I don't know anything about the guy or the card shop that he owns, allegedly. But, if sales plummet and his reviews start tanking, you kind of get what's coming to you in that regard. Now, of course, I don't condone violent behavior or harassment, things like that. That's too far. That's going wrong in the opposite direction there. We don't want to do any of that. But this guy's obviously very scummy, and what he did is very scummy if it is true. But there's just some weird anomalies with this video that I don't know. As a father myself, I would have done things a lot differently if I was the one whose son wasn't getting the product. And I think that's kind of the main thing that people wanted me to kind of get into is, I mean, we all know, I think we all know at this point that what the guy did was, it was terrible, right? You couldn't spare one ETB for this kid. Come on. And I do want to say, I want to point out, because I know people have made this comment in the past on my videos, on other people's videos. Pokemon is a game made for kids. I don't care what anybody else says. It is made for kids. It has always been that way, and it looks like it's going to be that way for a very long time in the future. If you want to argue it, sure, go for it. But, you know, the whole show is based around an 11-year-old kid who gets his Pokemon and goes on his adventure. All of the games, which is the actual Pokemon IP, that's like the start of the whole thing, the games, was built around a kid going around collecting Pokemon and badges. So you can't sit there and tell me that the game is not made for kids. It is straight up, like, it is literally made for kids. I know that the target audience isn't always the actual audience, but it's made for kids. Like, that kid in that cart was the target for what the cards are, you know, and for Pokemon today. Anyway, I would have done things a little bit differently if I was that father. You know, first of all, I'm probably not recording, or at least it's not my first initial thought. Like, I'm not seeing all this go down. I'm not getting, in my opinion, the disrespect, because that to me is just disrespectful. Like, if I'm standing there, even if he was the first guy in line, I'm the second guy in line, and you're taking all the product, like, that's a sign of disrespect towards me, right? Like, everybody feels their own way about it. Maybe you guys don't feel that way. It wouldn't necessarily feel that way if I didn't have my kid with me, because then it's just, you know, like, two adults, okay, you got here first, you get what you want. But I brought a kid. If I bring a kid with me, my kid, not just a kid, my kid, and the game is made for kids, that product sitting on the shelf is actually designed and made for kids, and my kid cannot get any because you are doing that, you're taking it all, I take that as a sign of disrespect. This person was obviously, you know, I don't know, maybe nicer than what I would be, because I would not take that very lightly. You know, I'm not going to say, like, I'm going to straight up fight this dude or something like that. I think that's just as ridiculous. But my first instinct is not to just hit record and make a, you know, silent film on the whole situation. And this is not to be a criticism towards the dad who did it. I mean, everybody does things differently in the heat of the moment. But I would have been John at him at a minimum, you know, making him at least feel like he's garbage. And I probably would have just either, while that dude's like trying to take him off the shelf, I would have just reached up and grabbed one and been like, I don't know, the calm, just like sit there and film. I don't understand that as much. I know it's a lot more passive. I'm a lot more fiery of an individual. But I would have at least taken one off the shelf. And I would probably go as far as to say, like, if he took it all off the shelf and I wasn't able to secure one, I'm probably reaching into his cart and grabbing one or two. I mean, he could try to defend him all he wants, like, rip him out of his hand, whatever, you know? Like, get at least one. What are the Walmart employees going to stop you? No, they can't touch you. They can't do anything. Most they're going to say is get out of the store. I'm going to go buy my ETB and then get out of the store. You know, I don't know. I feel as if there's just, like, I don't know. My views and how I am a parent is vastly different than that of a lot of other people. You know, I'm not as passive of a parent as I guess this individual was. And again, no shade or shame to the parent there. You know, like I said, everybody reacts to things differently. But I would have been making an attempt at a very minimum to secure something for my kid. And as some other people in other videos have commented, there's plenty of other product on the shelf. So, I mean, maybe you don't get the Destin's Rival, but you go for something else. Like, obviously, the Destin's Rival ETB was the goal. That's what they went there for, clearly. And that's what they were trying to get. So I would try to at least get one of those. But it's like, you still can get something. So it's not like a terrible, terrible thing. It's not like this dude just wiped the shelves completely and then left you with nothing. And then, you know, you're videotaping. I feel like that's a little bit of a different scenario too. Would I be upset? Yeah. Would I be kind of fiery about it? Yeah. Would I be like, butthurt about it in the end? Not really. I mean, do you think that kid does not look like he? I don't want to say he doesn't look like he knows Pokemon that well or anything like that, but like if you're getting some 151, which I believe was sitting on the shelf, or some other set, like, are they really going to care that much? They might care a little bit, but are they going to care that much if they do get other Pokemon cards? Like, I know my son, for example, he loves the Team Rocket thing, so of course he wants that. But if that was us in that situation, that dude took all the Team Rocket stuff, but there was still like 151 stuff, my son's still going to want that. Like, he's gonna quickly forget about the destined rivals and be like, hey, there's still Pokemon cards. Can we get some of those? And we move on. So, yeah, it's just an interesting video, interesting thing kind of going on. And I wanted to share my take a little bit. Again, I don't really get into the drama a whole lot, but I was actually tagged in a couple of the repeats of this video and sent it a few times in my DMs, and I had a few people asking me if I would react to this, more or less. So that's that. Those are my thoughts. The guy's still scummy no matter what. I don't think he wins in this situation. I don't think it matters. If like I said, if he had just taken one and handed it to the kid, I don't think there's a video about this. This father's probably not recording anything anymore, because most of the argument's gone. But B, you just don't look that awful. Like, you don't look like an awful person. Maybe to some people you still do look pretty bad, but I mean, to most people it's like, okay, well, you still shared with the kid. You let them have some. Let's move on with our lives, right? So I don't know. But like I said, this has happened to me and my son before, where we've gotten there. Mind you, the restock was relatively small, so there wasn't a whole lot to go around. But we were third in line. There was 2 scalpers in front of us. I know they are 100% scalpers. I've actually visited their store to just check them out, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But they took everything and dispersed it amongst themselves. My son was devastated, honestly. Wanting Pokemon cards and all that. But, at the end of the day, Pokemon cards are a luxury. This is a fun hobby. It's a great hobby. And I think getting your kids into a hobby like this can be really rewarding. It's just unfortunate that we have to encounter and deal with some garbage people like this, but that's life, and that's everywhere. There's no hobby. There's no like extracurricular activity you can do where everything is, sunshine and rainbows. It's going to happen. So, as much as you don't want to see it, it is kind of a little bit of a life lesson for kids. I'm not saying that to be like, hey, it's okay to do this to kids. If you're a person that's doing this and taking all product when there's kids present, every situation's different. But for the most part, you should be sharing with kids. Especially kids. There's a lot of different takes on this, and that's probably something for a different video. I know people use their kids to get product and then just resell it, and those kids never see the product anyway. I know some people who've done that. They're not good people, but there's different circumstances that could happen with all that, and I get it. It's never clear-cut, black and white type of issue here, but those are my takes on it. You guys let me know down in the comment section below what you think, but other than that, that's all I got. We'll see you guys in the next video.